Welcome to Chris Strub Unmuted. I'm Chris Strub, and today we're talking about resiliency. If you are working for a company, if you are not the boss, you need to be prepared to understand that no matter how much you love the company that you're working for, that this could happen to you too. This is Chris Strub Unmuted, a show designed for open dialogue, honest reflection, and uncensored truth about the lives that we lead. Today's episode looks at resiliency. 2025 has been an enormously wild roller coaster year for me. As you can see behind me, if you're just listening on audio, I am holding up my hands and proudly showing the home that I closed on and purchased back in the spring here in Malden, South Carolina. The joy of purchasing your first home is something that I hope, if you have not yet experienced in your life, that you will someday. And one of the reasons why I wanted to finally launch my own podcast was to talk frankly about these experiences that I am having as an aging, single male here living in the South. I turned 40 in the summer of 2025. That's it's always a challenge to acknowledge. But what you see in the news these days is that a lot of these life milestones that people used to ordinarily experience in their early 20s, mid 20s, early 30s, maybe, including buying a house, are happening later and later in life for a lot of people, if ever. I fully acknowledge how blessed I am to be where I am, metaphorically and physically. To have your own home like this is an absolute blessing. It's an absolute blessing. And the process of purchasing a home is obviously a challenge. And as many of you might know, before you even tune into the podcast, I've worked most of my adult life, at least since 2014, as a solopreneur. And the way that our antiquated banking system is set up, it is extremely difficult to secure a mortgage, to purchase a home if you are self-employed. That's not to say that it can't be done, but it is a real challenge. And so, knowing as I navigated my mid to late 30s, rest in peace, late 30s, I knew that having a job would be the way to achieve this life goal of purchasing a home. But as a solopreneur and someone who's learned a lot of lessons about wanting to love the work that you do, I knew that, and I've always known that I wasn't just going to take any job to make this happen. I was determined to find the right job for me, earn some financial equity, and more importantly, spend my time every day doing work that I truly believed in and truly loved. And so in 2023, I was essentially recruited by a person that I considered a good friend and contact in the industry. the role that was being created at this company, which I will not name, was designed really around a lot of the talents and the skills that I have and have established over the years. It was a perfect match. It was great. And from the moment I accepted this job in the fall of 2023, I leaned in and felt like it was just a perfect match. You know, this job was a fully remote role with a team based all around the United States. And eventually, you don't need to get into the minutia. Company has essentially a call center out of the country, so not entirely U.S. based, but the team that I worked with is mostly in the U.S. I was part of a marketing team, a large marketing team, and as it would turn out, maybe a too large marketing team. And I was blessed to work this job for about a year and a half, and learned a lot. That's a big recurring theme that you'll hear on Chris Strub Unmuted as these episodes go on and on and on. It's all about failing big and trying new things and really reaching. And for me, it's not just about this job. It's about everything that I've ever done has matched that philosophy of wanting to try new things. I hate the phrase throw it at the wall and see what sticks, but that's kind of what it is. But ultimately, it's about not fitting in and trying to be different and stand out on those values and virtues that make who you are, both in your own work and ultimately as a company. Those values and virtues and things that you stand on as human beings, I still believe and will always believe that that is what makes people want to do business with a brand, right? Like, it always is going to come down to, does this product work for the needs that I have? But especially in a B2B environment, relationships really, really matter. And so for me, as a seasoned professional in the social media marketing space, I took a job at a company in the fall of 2023, knowing that I was doing so because of the relationships that I had with the person/people who were recruiting me to this company. And then ultimately, as I got to know everyone at the company, I continued to work there because of the relationships that I had with those people. Again, we live in a post-COVID era. It's a fully 98% fully remote role. I had some limited in-person interactions with some team members over that year and a half, but ultimately it's a remote role. And it can be really difficult, I think, to build relationships with people and express how much those relationships and those people mean to you in an all virtual environment. Now, I come from a background of working for a company. Remove my strategically placed C4 glass here. Not sponsored yet, but we'll get there. My company is called I Am Here. I Am Here LLC. Launched it over a decade ago because I'm a true believer of this ethos of where you are matters. Where you are matters. Of course, I talked about where I'm at the house now, which, spoiler alert, at the end of the story, Chris gets the house, makes it happen. But when I talk about I Am Here, it's not just about where you are physically, it's about where your energy and attention and emotions are mentally. And in an interconnected internet era where your mindset is and where your emotions are and where those relationships lie can be in those Ethernet tubes, right? They can live through Wi-Fi. I really believe that. I really sincerely believe that. And I believe it because I've been blessed to travel the country. Spoiler alert, again, I've been to all 50 states. Of course, there'll be another episode upcoming about that. I've been in the offices of nonprofits all around the country. I've been on the ground at giving days for the last 7, 8, 9 years, right? Like, I've been on the ground. I know what this work means to people. I know what these relationships that the business has with its clients and then the clients have with the people that they serve. Those relationships really fucking matter. And so for me, being a team member, as someone who was recruited to a company in 2023 on the belief that this was a company that operates in that same thought process, that same vein of caring deeply about relationships. You know, there is that dual dynamic of the relationships that our company has with its customers. And then I felt like, more importantly, the relationships that our team had with one another. You know, leadership has with its team members, and more importantly, that our team members have with one another. And I valued those relationships in the way that I worked for this company. I really did. And a lot of the ideas that I introduced at this company over the year and a half that I were there were based on how can we use these tools, these visual tools, these audio tools, these video tools, how can we use these tools to build these relationships? Crazy concept, right? Like I've always been a relationship guy. And I really feel like, and again, I'm probably wrong. I must have this wrong. Maybe I need to go back to business school. But Chris Strub Unmuted is about taking the varnish off and saying what I feel like I need to say. You're 40 years old. Someday I'll be in the grave. We're going to say the things that need to be said. Relationships really, really matter. Relationships really matter. That's all we got in life, right? This is all, you know, wood, metal, land, money. Okay. Relationships matter. Relationships matter. And so the work that I did at this company for a year and a half, I felt like was good work. I felt like the work that I did reflected the ethos of a successful B2B company that truly valued the relationships that that company strived to have with its customers. And from that, from those great relationships can blossom relationships with new customers. What a concept, right? What a concept. Oh, this company does right by its customers. This company has a solid product to sell that helps us do the things that we do so that we can have better relationships with our customers, that we can better manage relationships with our customers. Not that I'm naming the company that and the core product that allowed people to manage relationships with their customers. Seems like it kind of matches, right? But at the end of the day, when you shut down, you're not looking at the customer base. You're looking into the camera at the people that you work with on a day-to-day basis. You're looking at the people that you rely upon to make your work happen, because none of this happens in a vacuum. It was a big thought process shift for me to move from solopreneur, contractor, do everything on your own, Chris, to, hey, we're on a team, let's work together to achieve these common goals. And how can my skill set best be applied and help others who have complementary skill sets? How can those people work together with me and vice versa? And then next level, how can we as a team maybe work with the other teams at this company so that we can all do what we do better? Easy concept, right? But this podcast today, we're talking about resiliency. And maybe I've been burying the lead here. So in the fall of 2023, I took this job. Again, I think I did good work. I mean, my evaluations were good. I mean, the metrics were good. In April of 2025, I shared with the team that I was closing on my first house here in Greenville, South Carolina. And you would think that in a team that values relationships with one another, that such news would be greeted with excitement and energy and enthusiasm and congratulations and joy and all of those positive emotions, right? We're a team built on relationships and relationship management, customer relationship management tool, right? But forget about the tool. It's not even about the tool. It's about any company that you work for, especially in a virtual environment. Relationships matter. And when I shared that I was closing on my house, it's funny, the reaction in the room was a bit muted. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, well, thanks. Let's move on and talk about business, right? We're going to hit it straight from the can here. Little did I know that most of the people in that meeting room that day surely knew that my days at this company were numbered. Now, not everyone in the room knew that, but a certain significant percentage of people surely did. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that at the time. I just thought, maybe people are having a bad day. I don't know. I mean, and again, it's not about me. Who cares? Like, good things happen for everybody. Everybody has good days and bad days. It's not about, ultimately, our job is not about the people and our feelings and the sunshine outside and all that shit. It's about the work that we're doing, the numbers that we're driving, the business that's succeeding. But my boss and my boss's boss and my boss's boss's boss certainly knew that in a couple weeks after that call that I would be closing on a house. Probably the biggest thing to ever happen to me in my life. And I did not expect a week or two later, I have to pin down all the dates exactly, but it was early April of 2025 that I got a Slack message asking if I could join a quick call with my boss before a team call. And then we had our company-wide call. We had our weekly company-wide call coming up later that afternoon. And I joined that call, and quickly a representative from Human Resources joined the call, and that's when you know that things aren't going your way that day. I was under contract for my house. This house, spoiler alert, I still got the house. And I was let go from that job that day. And this episode is not at all designed to be woe is me. Okay. Today we're talking about resiliency. And I want to share the story with you of what happened after that moment, because ultimately what happened before that moment doesn't really matter. You know, the work that I did obviously didn't matter to anyone at that company. And more importantly to me, the relationships that I had with pretty much all of those people at that company didn't matter either. Now, there were a couple of people that I worked with that reached out in the hours and days afterwards, and I will forever be grateful to those folks for checking on me. These were not necessarily the people that I might have anticipated would reach out and check on me. But I will tell you that the people that you definitely might have thought would have checked on me after this news happened never did. Never did. In a job that I took because of relationships, in a company that purports to be about relationship management, this was a really, and still is a really hard lesson to learn about resiliency. Because I had to wake up the next day and figure it out. I had to wake up the next day and decide what becomes of my life moving forward. And I had to do this without the team that I had been working with and trusting for a year and a half. And I had to do it, of course, without the paychecks that I was getting for a year and a half. Right? This sucked, man. It sucked. You know, you think about gallows humor. I was not the only one laid off that day, and there have been more layoffs at this unnamed company since that day. You know, you think about gallows humor, and I think I've developed closer relationships with some of those folks who were laid off since, because we can share in that trauma bond, if you will. But one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to launch a podcast at all right now was to do this episode and share with you, viewer, listener, that when you work for a business and people pretend to care about you, they don't. They don't. They do not give a fuck. And that's hard to acknowledge. That's hard to acknowledge how people can be so two-faced and just flip on a dime and pretend to care about you as a human being, and then moments later just be completely emotionally detached from anything having to do with you. This is a difficult lesson to learn. And I feel like I straddle this line now of really believing in everything that I've just described here over the last, whatever it is, 15 minutes, right? I, Chris Strub, believe in the value of relationships. I also believe that you can do business and value those relationships at the same time. And if that business means that a difficult decision needs to be made, that someone needs to be let go, There are ways to do that that are not inhumane. There are ways to do that that are sensitive to the people that are on the other side of those webcams. There are ways to do that in a way that offer dignity and respect for the people that have given their time, their talent over whatever period of time to that business. And there are ways to do that that don't breed negativity and pain moving forward. Because, listener, viewer, in case you missed it at the top, my name is Chris Strub. This is Chris Strub Unmuted. I am a resilient dude. I'm a resilient dude. I'm very, very lucky to have that resiliency gene in me. And my hope is that if you are watching, listening, subscribe, like, leave a review, you need that resiliency gene too. You need to be prepared if you are working for a company, if you are not the boss, you need to be prepared to understand that no matter how much you love the company that you're working for, that this could happen to you too. I'm a personality hire. You know what I mean? I am not some super crazy technician. I'm not a coder. I don't have a magic wand when it comes to social media marketing or anything else that I do. I am a relationships-based guy. Right? So when that cord is cut, when that rug is pulled, that was really, really difficult for me to digest mentally. Really difficult. But I want you to know that if you are going through an experience like this, then it's going to be okay. Shout out to one of my favorite YouTubers, Sam Reed, by the way. Love watching his videos. I watch him all the way to the end to hear him use that phrase. Go subscribe to Sam Reed on YouTube. Check out some of his videos. Resiliency doesn't need to be something that you're born with, but it is something that you need to internalize and have ready to go. And I don't want that feeling and that skill set of resiliency to take away from loyalty or respect or appreciate. Like, don't let this preparation to be resilient take away from the joy that you bring to what you do every day. Because I didn't let it take away from me at all. Of course, I didn't know that this was coming. So maybe hearing this episode is going to help you in some form or fashion. But when you talk about resiliency, I'm so thankful to be filming. And when I bought this house, I'm like, I'm going to put this camera in this corner of the house so you can see the place. Because I still made it happen. And we'll talk more in another episode about the journey moving forward to make that happen. And now this podcast is part of that journey too. That you can succeed. I want you to look me in my eyes, or if you're listening, know that I'm staring right into the camera and telling you that valuing relationships is meaningful. This is not a skill set or something to ignore in your perception of the world. That what happened to me it's not necessarily going to happen to you, and it doesn't have to happen to you, because there are definitely companies out there with decision makers who are compassionate, who are understanding, who do care. And the fact that I learned that I was working for one with decision makers who don't care, the continued theme of this podcast is for you to learn from the lessons that I've learned the hard way so that you can be prepared to better take them on in your own world, in the future. Thanks for listening to Chris Strub Unmuted. Support the show by liking and subscribing. Keep up with me on social media at Chris Strub. And remember, we are all famous to a few people.